Spiced coffee? Subak al-Kuhar. No poison. Look. She'd drink it if it were poison. She's naive. Fremen death commando, never taken alive. Come. Oh, charming. She'd already sliced her wrist before your men took her crysknife from her. We have intercepted Harkonnen reports that the rest of her kinsmen are being held at the Harkonnen barracks in Stiech Tabir. Take the base, but do not allow the barracks to be destroyed. The Duke has decided to liberate the hostages to show the Fremen that we are allies.
Ta'adi al-Baran, Taqwa.
Death, the price of freedom. To her, it is as if they are already dead.
Hello and welcome to Dune 2000, and this will be Atreides Mission 5. As you probably gathered from the briefing, there are some barracks that we need to capture in this mission. What is unique to this mission is the fact that there's a mercenary starport that you can and should capture in order to make the mission not easier but possible. In this mission, we get access to missile tanks, which are very vulnerable, but also quite powerful, and the only ones who can engage in anti-air engagements. Whatever. And of course, we get access to the carry-all, which is basically a transportation unit. I don't like using them for reasons that will become obvious in the next video. The first offensive structure, the gun turret, it's just somewhat useless because of its range, unfortunately. Various other buildings as well, but nothing we are worrying too much about in this mission. As you can probably see, we have no construction yard, which is a bit awkward. I always love when you start a mission without a construction yard. So basically we have our barracks and we have our light vehicles factory, and we have the two engineers. So you can probably imagine that without capturing that starport, we will not be doing any base building. Just need to get a few soldiers. I usually I like to get 5 missile tubers and 5 infantry tubers and send them up. There is a direct route which I can't recommend, but there's also a backdoor, so to speak, which is definitely the recommended route to go, because if you go the direct route, you are going to attract the ire of the Harkonnen base, and if you do that at this stage, you can just hit the restart button. There's nothing you can do to stand against whatever is on this mission.
Unit ready. Training.
Upgrading the 2 different production structures in order to be able to spit out something, because as you can see, we can't progress our base or upgrade our base and build our base in any way, shape or form. So all of the various soldiers go.
Training.
Orders, sir? Yes, sir.
Unit ready.
Keeping the engineers behind.
Training.
Yes,
Don't
sir.
want to get them in the line of fire. And this is the back door.
Unit ready.
Unfortunately, because of the parsing, the
Building.
program doesn't know that by delaying the second group of infantry could get them both through, but whatever, we just have to babysit them, as it's going to be the case for most missions, babysitting units. Lovely. Anyway, we get a warning from the mercenaries that they won't be happy if we get any closer, but we don't care because we need that starport. So, thankfully there's only infantry up here, so
Unit lost.
just take them out.
Trainees out. Trainees out. Yes, sir. Waiting orders. Ready, Commander. For the Duke. Trainees out. Waiting orders. Over and out. For the
And
Duke.
there's the starport. But we also have two wind traps up here, and one thing of note is as soon as you capture the starport,
Over and out.
Unit
the
ready.
AI will sell
Training.
the two wind traps. So
Yes, sir.
try to line it up so that the two engineers
Unit
capture
ready.
a building each roughly at the same time. We
Yes, sir.
have about a second or two's grace time,
Enemy building captured.
but that's it.
T minus
Because
1.
without that extra wind trap, you will run out of power.
Ready, Commander. For the Duke.
The unit, the units even, we confiscate
Trainees out.
are a few
Commander.
quads, a few tanks, and the all-important mobile construction vehicle, which of course can be
Training.
deployed to construct
Sir.
a construction yard.
Yes, sir.
Now the temptation is to take it down to the main
Unit
base, but
ready. Reinforcements
don't
have
bother.
arrived.
This mission does not allow for such common sense. The mobile construction unit is a very, very slow vehicle, and
Building.
in the focus war north of our main base and immediately west of our starport
Ready, Commander. For the Duke.
is a no-go area for the moment.
Yes, sir. For the
It will
Duke.
become quite obvious why.
Building.
The starport, by the way, in case you don't know, is a
Construction complete.
trade facility. You can go in and you can buy
Order
units
placed.
depending on how much
T minus
how much credits you've got, and
Building.
sometimes availability of units. You can't just go in every 10 seconds and buy a bunch of units. That's not the way it works. There will be some sort of simulated supply and demand. It's nothing much more exciting than seeing your most desired unit being dirt cheap and then they have none available. It's just a
Minus
kick in the
3.
crotch, basically.
Commander.
But anyway, we need to use the starport
Construction
to
complete. Building.
strengthen our forces, but we also need to use the construction yard to try to build up some sort of
Construction
base.
complete. Building.
Ready, Commander. Yes, sir.
Construction complete. T minus 1. Building.
Let's go.
So,
New
a
construction.
warning from the mercenaries about us being naughty and they want to kick us out.
Unit
And of course, at
lost.
the same time, the Harkonnen decides to come and say hi. Just some tries and some quads, nothing major, but
Upgrading.
it is something to be mindful of because, of course, we have the other incoming attack, but
Construction complete.
it's just some infantry and some vehicles and a few tanks, nothing
Yes, Commander.
to be too concerned about. Trying to preserve my one tank, which was given as reinforcement, because
Let's go.
you have to
Yes, Commander.
balance your resources between building structures and buying units, and you basically need to do those, and you don't have the capacity to do those.
Construction options. Construction complete.
There's a unit in this mission which I'm not going to talk about as such, because it is a unit that becomes available for production in the next mission, and then
Building.
at that time we'll give it its
For the Duke.
time to shine. Well, not really, but you know what I mean. The idea of the repair pad would have to wait. I decided I would much rather have
Building.
a second refinery, because you need the income to build a base, you need the income to build units, and you need the income to pay for units at the starport. And
Sir.
the gathering is somewhat decent-sized force, but we're not quite there yet. I should mention that I've cut out quite a bit of this mission because it was very, very long and I had to do a few reloads because of randomness. The base you're facing is actually not, I mean, it's big, but it's not huge.
Construction
But the amount of
complete.
units present
Building.
even in this mission, Harkonnen units, is ridiculous.
Construction complete.
You will get to see it once I decide to go and say hi, but
Construction
there's
complete.
so many enemy units in this mission,
Building.
and you just can't afford to build up one attack force to try and deal with it because
Building.
you get overrun. The problem is when the mercenaries want to pay you back for making their starport, they will
Building.
land units outside of your viewpoint and then
Cancelled.
they will start wandering down towards the starport, and sometimes it can happen.
Building.
I've seen it happen multiple times actually. The Harkonnen decides that, well, you know what, we're just going to help you guys, and then they bring their main force to your starport and crush you
Building.
outright, and there's nothing you can do.
Commander,
Construction
Technically,
complete.
I could consider producing a
Building.
mobile construction vehicle and set up a construction yard in the main base, but
Construction complete.
it's 2,000 credits I didn't necessarily want to invest
Building.
into such an
Yes, sir.
endeavor, so I decided to just stick with what I've got and
Construction complete.
make sure to have enough
Building.
units around the starport to be able to potentially defend the area.
Construction complete.
You can see that blob on the
Building.
sand in the gap in the spice. That is a
Construction complete.
spice mount, and if you shoot that,
Building.
it will pop and burst out spice. And will also do
Construction
damage to
complete.
units and buildings nearby if you should have a building close to spice and one of those around.
Building.
But it's basically the
Construction
game's way of
complete.
giving you recurring resources instead of just saying, well, you have these resources
Building.
and that's it. It's very random how much spice you get out of them, but some spice is better than none. So,
Atreides out.
like popping a sit. Disgusting.
Guarding.
Yes, sir.
Guarding.
Are we looking up there? I built a barracks up near the starport, by the way,
Construction complete.
in order to be able to reinforce the
New
place quickly
construction options.
if I thought I need to do such a thing. Because you can see the Harkonnen has decided to come and say hi. How the computer knows that my units are there. They've probably been talking to the
Unit lost.
mercenaries and been
Unit
informed of our
lost.
location.
Building.
I know it's an old game and the technology, of course, for
Orders, sir.
designing the AI has probably been somewhat limited, but I really hate games where the computer knows things it shouldn't possibly know, even though I suppose there is a chance it would know because of the mercenaries.
Building.
Regardless, it's just a minor skirmish, it's nothing to be too concerned about. Of course, the issue being that every single time you lose a unit, that's one more you have to produce and one more you have to buy, and that can be rather painful.
Construction complete.
Carryalls will take units to the repair pad if they are damaged, if you request them to do so, But their main task is to carry harvesters around, and one thing I found in this game is once you start building or buying carryalls, all your units get legacy. A harvester will not return to base despite being under attack. It will happily wait for the carryall not to pick it up in time and take it back to base. So I'm quite reluctant of building or buying carryalls, even though they technically makes things faster.
Unit repaired. Construction complete. Unit repaired.
So let's skip a bit forward, and I feel I've built up to a point where I can start,
Ready,
well,
Commander.
say hi to
Now.
the Harkonnen forces.
Our base
As
is
you can see,
under
I've done a bit of
attack.
scouting, located their base, and just as I'm about to move out, the Harkonnen will send out a small force, which I decided to go and deal with. If you notice, I have purchased a few units up there. That's because I already sent out one attack force,
Ready,
which got
Commander.
absolutely demolished by the Harkonnen. There they are.
Ready, Commander. Atreides out.
Our base is under attack.
Orders, sir? Yes, sir. For the Duke.
Just try and get rid of them a bit quickly. Repairing the two gun turrets that
Orders,
I
sir?
placed. It's high consistent damage if units decide to go into your base, so it's definitely worth having them, but until you get missile turrets later on, they can be outranged. And there's only one unit can outrange missile turrets, so once you get them,
Yes, sir.
you're a bit more safe. Infantry guys, I just run them over the tanks and the other vehicles. It's actually quite interesting. I suppose, I mean, a vehicle is a vehicle, but the missile tanks are supposed to be somewhat light, but you can still quite effectively use them to run men over.
Yes, sir.
Worm sign.
Sandworm, lovely. One thing I've noticed about bloody sandworms is if you're engaged in
Order
combat
placed.
with your enemy,
And
the sandworm seems to be rather picky of what it wants to eat. It usually likes to eat your units, even though there's 20 of the enemies and 4 of yours, it usually finds a way to swallow one of your 4 units. So let's get involved with some combat, shall we? And see the amazing pathfinding
Atreides out.
in action.
Yes, sir.
If the units were behaving the way you wanted them to behave, you would lose fewer units than you do, but they are not. They are trying to engage the enemy by running counterclockwise around the entire map, which means that you have to constantly try to adjust them, and they don't seem to be overly keen on responding to
Lost.
new orders, and with the amount of enemies present in this mission, yeah,
For the Duke.
Unit
just trying to get rid of
lost.
tanks mainly,
Building.
because they will do most damage because they live longer. So I have accepted that this force is a
Unit
throwaway force,
lost.
because that's the way the mission
Unit
plays out.
lost. Unit lost.
You basically have to wear down the Harkonnen forces by building up multiple
Unit lost.
units and throw them out
Sign.
in chunks in order to
Ready.
get rid of yet again.
Unit lost.
You can see there's quite a few of them.
Yes,
So,
sir.
next push. Decide to push from the top side this time. And the pathfinding is with me again. There's plenty of space up there. There's nothing preventing
Unit ready.
that group of units from gathering up there. But lo and behold, some of them decide that they would rather go back home,
Atreides out.
apparently. As you can see, those two units, one of them turned around, but this one
Commander.
I tried to order 10 times to go back, and
sir.
I eventually gave up and just told it to go back to base because
For the Duke.
it was rather painful having to try and get one unit to respond. So,
Atreides out. For the Duke.
sending in this attack force to try and get rid of as much as possible.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Yes, Commander.
Unit lost.
Again,
Yes, sir.
focusing tanks first and foremost.
For the Duke.
Unit lost. Unit lost. Unit lost. Unit lost. Unit lost.
Another force that's bound to be
Unit
destroyed, but
lost.
I'm quite willing to accept that.
Standing by.
And
Unit lost.
preparing the next
Let's
group
go.
to go out.
Let's go. Let's go. Yes, Commander.
That's basically how you have to tackle this mission, and it shows it gets a bit tedious because of what I mentioned earlier. The computer randomly can decide to attack you with full force, and there's nothing you can do about it. And you just don't have the units to defend yourself, and it can happen
Yes, Commander.
completely unprovoked. It just, I don't know what's causing it. I mean, if you attack the enemy harvesters, they tend to respond quite aggressively, but you can find yourself in a position where you just suddenly see 25-30 tanks charging down towards your base, and you're just standing there seeing your structures get crumbled one at a time. But
Let's go.
at least we can put up a fight this time.
Order placed. Unit lost.
If my tanks would stop driving around while they are getting shot, of course, that would definitely
Unit
help.
lost.
But
Unit lost.
Let's go.
Unit lost.
can't ask for too much, can you?
Unit lost.
Orders confirmed. Yes, Commander.
Unit lost. Unit ready. Building. T-minus 3.
A lone survivor, but I
Unit
beat them.
lost.
Standing by.
And after that engagement, there's no further units
Over and out.
at all.
Training.
There's no further Harkonnen units. It feels
Unit ready.
stupid. The base is not producing anything. It has a humongous amount of units at the beginning of the mission, and that's about it. It may produce a tank here and there, but compared to the initial unit count, there's just no opposition left.
Enemy building.
I decided to
active.
capture some bases, some buildings, so I could start producing
Yes, Commander.
structures in the Harkonnen base, because it's easier to have access to an engineer via the barracks,
Our base is
being
under
close to
attack.
where we need to go. But as you can see, there's nothing left. Just some defensive structures and buildings. And out of spite, I decided to raise the entire building, the entire base to the ground. didn't technically need to, but
Reporting.
yeah.
Yes, Commander.
Just want to cut to the
Yes,
enemy construction yard being blown to smithereens. Very exciting. It just feels very tame that the entire base stops
Reporting.
functioning. Once the units are gone, that's it. No resistance left outside of the men that are left after you smash the building.
Commander.
So,
Orders confirmed. Yes, Commander.
I will
Orders
catch you.
confirmed.
Poor guy.
Repairing.
Let's go.
So, our objective. We are sending an engineer into the barracks to complete the mission.
Enemy building captured. Mission complete.
I'm sure you could complete the mission by trying to get an engineer up into the base and into that barracks, but I didn't particularly want to toy with that idea.
Atreides pushed Harkonnen back further, then turned on Ordos.
Thanks for watching, take care, see you next time. Bye bye for now.